Basket making has actually been in our family for hundreds of years. And if my grandmother would call it an unbroken line of basket makers. And what we tell people is, I say sixth generation, and why my daughter would be sixth generation, myself fifth, and I say that because you would have me, my father, my grandfather, his mother, and the person who taught his mother. So if someone were to say, you know, show me, we could show them that. But there are more before that because it's passed down, you know, from generation to generation. And we're fortunate to come from a big basket making family. John Pigeon is my cousin, and his father and my grandfather were first cousins, so their mothers were sisters, and that's where the basket making comes from. And we've been fortunate to have a really large family that has continued it up to, until this day.
A basket that my dad or my great-grandpa made, you can see where my grandpa repaired it, you know, on the corner, or you could see on the top where my dad repaired it, and you could see where, you know, they're saying this handle needs to be a little bit more work, and then so I'll repair it. And so these baskets, they'll go generation to generation. The basket that held me as a baby held my boy, held my grandpa. These baskets have been in our family just for indefinitely. We don't know how long they've been around, but when they're not holding babies, they're holding laundry. So until the next generation comes, then they'll hold babies again.
I like to say that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And so we have something to learn from what this boar is doing. Black ash trees and the basket process teaches patience and perseverance, and teaches us all these wonderful values of, that it has. And without that, our people will suffer. Some of our people will suffer because they won't be able to learn how to harvest. They won't be able to learn how to gather those materials anymore, and what that tree has to offer. And so along with that, it's not just the baskets and the blisters and the good times that come along with that we'll be missing. There's a lot of values that we're going to be missing along with that too. And so how that's going to impact us, huge, let alone what kind of ripple effect it's going to have on the environment. When you lose a whole species out of an environment, nobody really knows what's going to happen.
In around 2002, in the southeastern part of Michigan, around Detroit, people started noticing that ash trees were dying throughout the neighborhoods. And when the scientists and entomologists went to figure out what was going on, they found a little green bug that nobody had really seen before. And actually they checked the databases and collections to try to figure out what this bug was. They didn't have a sample in the US. They finally found one in Europe a few weeks later after they found the first ones, and it was the emerald ash borer. And this is a bug that is native to Asia, and it is believed to have come over on boats in shipping materials with the trade between Asia and the US. And Detroit area has a large port, so it's believed that it came in on shipping material. Now, what was happening was this little green bug, the emerald ash borer, puts a larva into ash trees, and that larva ends up killing and eating the inner bark, which essentially strangles a tree. So nutrients can't travel from the base of the tree, the roots, to the top of the crown. So what started to happen in Detroit or around Detroit, people saw the crowns of the trees were dying. Once it was really stressed, the tree, in an effort to bypass that area of the emerald ash borer, starts sending out sprouts. So the crowns started dying in these trees, sprouts started coming up, but the trees themselves really were not resistant to emerald ash borer, and millions of trees ended up dying. At this point, since 2002, tens of millions of ash trees have been killed. And emerald ash borer is known to eat all species of ash, just doesn't focus on one type or another. All species of ash seem to be susceptible to emerald ash borer. There are two main parts of its life cycle. One part of the life cycle is the larval stage. And at that stage, the larvae eat the inner bark of an ash tree or the phloem tissue, and that prevents nutrients from going from the roots to the crown. These larvae, the larvae form S-shaped galleries on the tree that are very evident once the infestation is pretty large. After the larvae eat, they end up turning into an adult, and that's the green metallic beetle that you see. And this adult forms below the bark and then emerges from the bark to go find new ash trees to eat and then lay eggs and have new larvae form in those new trees.
This is the way we were taught, and this is what we do. And when the ash is gone, we can make sweetgrass baskets. That is another thing that's native here to Michigan. We can make birch bark baskets. That's more native to the northern Michigan natives because they have more birch bark trees than us. But black ash is what has been passed on in our family, and so therefore it's really important to us. And it's also a basket that can be used in different ways than sweetgrass. You can make your market baskets, your fancy baskets, your huge hampers. They all had utility purposes. And even with the bark baskets, they had their own purposes as well. So it's just from traditions of many years of being passed on.
I worry about my grandchildren not being able to have that opportunity to sit down and play inside splints like I did when I was younger. So it's definitely going to have an impact, but I'm not ready to give it up. I haven't thrown the towel in on natural fiber of any kind, and so I plan on traveling as far as I can until the tree can recover. And with today's technology, it could be my great-grandchildren who will be having to look at videotapes and CDs and DVDs in order to learn, what that technique was in the past, The
people say that it's a dying art because not enough people are involved to learn all the different aspects. Like my son, all these different things. He just thinks it's natural, and that everybody does it. He's one of the few, I always tell him, the few of the proud that can still do this, from planting the tree to making this finished baskets that you see behind me. It's going to be hard for my granddaughter because she won't have any trees. When we go out to the woods, we collect these seeds, and these little seeds, they hold so much promise for our people that it's going to be harder. We're going to be hard-pressed to continue on what we're going to do. It's sad in a way, but my dad always told me that these things happen for reasons, and the Creator, for whatever reasons, might not deem us worthy of this gift, or for whatever reason, that it's being taken away, and you'll get it back when you need it, and if you're deserving enough, it'll come back to you. And so I always hold out that hope,
So, what can we do about emerald ash borer? There are 5 things everybody should be doing. First and foremost, don't move firewood. If you're camping, gather firewood from the area that you're camping in, or purchase it from a local vendor. Second, look out for the signs and symptoms of emerald ash borer. Third, report any signs and symptoms you might find to your tribal, federal, or state forest managers. Fourth, get involved with seed collection activities. Fifth, work with your tribal, state, and federal managers to develop an emerald ash borer management plan.
For the individual basket makers to unite and hopefully, I would hope, develop a coalition so we can deal from state to state, and area to area, and say, I belong to the Black Ash Basket Coalition in Michigan, and the emerald ash is coming your way. Let me come and trade with you. I will exchange my knowledge and skills for some material in your way.
So we really need to spread the word, and looking at it from that point of view too, we're almost positive we're going to lose most of our trees because of just the lack of knowledge, of people knowing that they're transporting the bug and such. So looking at collecting seeds is about the only hope that we really have, is to collect seeds, save them, and hope we can replant them again someday.
Back then, and for the people today, they have to make do with what they have and adapt, so that 500 years ago we didn't have that little horse that we wanted from the store. We'd have to make our own little horse, So we've always adapted, and we'll adapt to this. It'll make us stronger as a people, I think. So that's my hope anyway.
For more information, please visit sustainabledevelopmentinstitute.org or emeraldashborer.info.